You practically broke your arm patting yourself on the back for not voting in January to just eliminate the ACA. You told us that that was because you didn't think that healthcare could be solved in a couple of months. It's too complicated. It took you 3 weeks. 3 weeks to go from it's too complicated and it can't be done quickly to I've got a huge pile of excrement that the CBO said was going to kick 24 million people off of health insurance. 3 weeks, Congressman. That's all it took for you to go from I'm not going to do it that quickly to I've got a yes vote in my pocket and I'm going to use it. You have been the single greatest threat to my family in the entire world. You are the reason I stay up at night. What happens if I lose my job? My wife, who every day is wondering if she's going to get cancer, now also has to contend with, what if my husband loses his job? If I lose my job, we can't afford COBRA. We can't afford to get private insurance. We get it from my employer. If I lose it, it's gone. If I lose my job on a Monday, if I'm lucky enough to find a job on a Tuesday, which never happens, I will not be eligible for 3 to 6 months. If I lapse my coverage within 63 days, suddenly I'm in a high-risk pool. Come after me, I don't care. You came after my wife. You came after my kids. Your actions affect the entire country. There is no one in this country that your actions are not going to affect. Well, there was a horrible bill available to you from a horrible group of people who believe that we don't deserve health insurance. They have said it on TV, on camera. They said it. They said that if we get sick, it's our fault. These are the people that are in your party, that you're working with. I will not forgive. I will not forget. The single payer run by the government, oh yeah, it's got problems, but it's also got elections, and you're going to find that out in 2018.
Normally, Luane and I try to pick an audio clip to lead into these broadside commentaries that directly relates to the topic at hand. If you were listening to the powerful words of one terrified and angry husband and father, you might think I'm going to go on a tear about healthcare. Maybe I should. But the issue that has animated my thinking the most this week is just something I need to get off my chest. It all started with a series of tweets courtesy of MSNBC's Joy Reid. Quote, Bernie and his followers are like that college friend who stays at your place for weeks, pays $0, eats your food, and trashes your aesthetic. Not saying they're not welcome to move in. I'm sure the party would welcome them. But for now, they're that long-term couch friend. Joy is not the lone figure among the so-called progressive left that has been targeting Bernie Sanders as of late. We keep an active Twitter account for Swing State, and I can confirm that rarely a day goes by where I don't see some supposedly left-leaning individuals going after Sanders or his supporters. And worse, if you dare to point out the naked absurdity of their claims, you're likely to find yourself blocked by the very same people who will then turn around and lament the infighting they themselves are fueling within the left. I admit that even as an atheist, the first thing that comes to my mind is that one bit of advice Jesus gave about removing the plank from your own eye before removing the speck of dust from your brother's eye. I consider myself a peacemaker, and if I may blow my own bagpipe for a moment, I do in fact have the street cred to claim that. I supported Bernie Sanders for president during the 2016 primaries. I canvassed, I phone banked, I donated, I spread the word, and did basically everything that is in the power of one working class person to do to see his campaign succeed. And do you know what happened? Bernie lost. That's right. He lost. I didn't blame the scoreboard, or the Clintons, or the media that went out of its way to ignore Sanders while faithfully covering every second of every fucking Trump rally, or the Democratic Party elites, even though I probably could have, considering that the Democratic primary was designed to be a coronation, not a race. Not one heavy hitter in the Democratic Party establishment bothered to run, if for no other reason than to set the stage for 2020 and soak up millions of dollars worth of free TV exposure. The candidates that did challenge her, however briefly, were endlessly characterized as hopelessly outclassed in terms of money and organization. Good for little more than a tune-up before the big show. Suffice to say, Sanders and his legions came out of nowhere and briefly put the fear of God into the Clinton camp, but he, and we, came up short. We lost. So do you know what I did? I took all of my disappointment, set it aside, and did the same thing for Hillary Clinton that I did for Bernie Sanders. I donated, made calls, and made the argument to people in my state that Hillary Clinton was not only the best option available to us, but her policies would directly benefit the majority of Iowans, especially those with disabilities. Because it was true. And then do you know what happened? She lost. That's right. She lost. Hillary Clinton and all her mega-rich donors and establishment friends fumbled the football on the 1-yard line when they should have been dancing into the end zone. She lost to Donald grab-him-by-the-pussy Trump, the stupidest, least qualified alleged sexual predator to ever seek high office in our nation. It should have been unlosable, a political grenada. After all, the nation was ready for Hillary, right? It was supposed to be her turn, her time, right? But she choked. Her campaign pulled resources from the Midwest, and she lost the Electoral College thanks to states like Michigan and Iowa. She lost. And what has been the response of Hillary and her supporters since that fateful November day? So far as I can see, it's been to blame everyone but Hillary. It was the Bernie bros, you see. It was the media. It was the Russians. Look, it's not like she doesn't sort of have a point here, at least about the latter two, but like I said in a previous episode about the upper echelons of college football, when you're in a leadership position, taking accountability is not optional. When you fail, you own it. Then shut up. If you don't do that, you start to reveal the very lack of focus and leadership qualities that as much as anything else caused you to fail in the first place. Luane and I cover the Russiagate scandal almost every week, but even we have the presence of mind to know that Vladimir Putin never expected Trump to win. The operation he ordered was meant to hobble her presidency and divide our already divided nation. But every day I check Twitter, and there's another Clintonite slamming Sanders, claiming he's the real reason for her loss. And worse, now he's trashing the Democratic Party. Yeah, mean old Bernie. Just look at how he trashes your aesthetic when describing the state of the Democratic Party.
Democrats actually have the momentum, maybe not enough momentum right now to win in heavily Republican districts, but the momentum is with the Democrats. But having said that, it is my view that the Democratic Party has to do a lot of internal soul searching and understand that for the last 10 years, the model that they have had really has not worked. And I think that what the Democrats have got to do is make it clear to the working people of this country that the Democratic Party is on their side, is prepared to take on Wall Street, the pharmaceutical industry, the insurance company, the fossil fuel industry, to create the many millions of jobs that we can create by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, by in fact passing a Medicare for all single-payer system.
Dear God. The horror. If you paid any attention to what Bernie just said, you already realize it's about as controversial as saying that water is fucking wet. Maybe it's time you started listening to the progressive left instead of excuse peddling, because you don't get to claim Sanders and his energized supporters, the lone hope of this party, something even Chuck Schumer realized, are like college bums criticizing the wallpaper, when in fact, Sanders supporters are more like the loyal, honest friends telling you your fucking apartment is on fire while you're standing around in the kitchen baking cookies. You don't get to claim your candidate is blameless when she loses the easiest race in the modern history of the United States, and you don't get to claim she ran a good campaign when no living person to this day can even tell you what the fuck it was about. And this is really the problem, or one of them, with the present-day Sanders critic. You're in a position where you ought to have vanishingly little to say, yet you can't stop with the hate in the shade. For myself, I have no interest in relitigating the 2016 primaries or the general election or figuring out exactly who is to blame for what. I am willing to put aside all of that for one very good reason. We don't have the fucking luxury of self-cannibalizing. We need every single person we can get, from left-leaning Republicans to moderate Democrats to the most progressive Sandernistas, to join together in one force, first to resist this abomination of a presidency, and then to start the slow work of rebuilding our democracy, which is at this very moment under assault by a crazed orange tyrant and the anti-democratic Republican cartel that has enabled him every step of the way. We have bigger things to worry about, like the man you just heard dressing down his representative. These people are coming after Medicaid. That's a fancy way of saying they're coming after the poor, the sick, the old, and the disabled. We should be saving every ounce of our ammunition for the Republican mafia, and the sooner the rightfully disappointed Clinton supporters accept that Bernie Sanders is in no way your problem and close ranks, the better off we're all going to be.